coming up on this episode of In Your Mind.
And that goes for anybody. So I actually pull that into my work with entrepreneurs and business owners. And when I'm hosting a mastermind, I look at you and I say, what do you need? Here's what I'm hearing. Here's what I'm seeing. This is what I'm thinking. Does this sound right? And really getting to tap into someone's inner being, because when you feel loved, you're going to go above and beyond.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of In Your Mind with your host, me, Paul Trudel-Payne. Today, I am so thrilled to bring you our next guest. Her name is Shannon Parsons. And you guys, I want you to help welcome Shannon to the room. Shannon, how are you?
Hey, thank you. I'm so excited to be here with you.
Me too. I like purposely learned, I would say maybe 5 interviews ago, that I'm letting now our guest explain more about like, hey, this is my title and what I do. Because what I've realized is I make them sort of give me this little, 2 or 3 words, give me what you do.
Yeah.
Everyone is so much more complicated than those 2 or 3 words that I'm like, let's just let them go into it first and then we'll dive in. So tell us all about what you do and sort of what you're bringing to the world.
Oh, thank you. Well, my official job title is Secret Weapon, and that's because I do so many different things, but I just get things done. One of the things I do is I host a women's event. I'm a co-host of another entrepreneurial event. I produce and host masterminds. So whatever you're looking for, chances are I either know the person who can help you or they're connected to the person that can help you. And I get to just make magic connecting people.
I love that. It's part of the reason when we sort of first chatted, I just got along with you so well. It was insane. I mean, it was crazy. It was so good.
Yeah, I think it was like a 1-hour pre-chat interview.
I know. It's too much. I was like, I have to stop asking questions. We have nothing to talk about later. Okay. Well, we do start with the same question every time. So I want to start there, and it's sort of like at the beginning, right? Like where should we start? So tell us all a little bit about you as a child.
Me as a child. Okay. Think about this ahead of time. Me as a child, it's interesting. I didn't realize this about myself until now I look back, but I've always wanted to be in front of people. And kind of be in the spotlight and put on a show and make people happy and make people smile. But I learned in my life that it was actually safer for me if I just kind of hid into the background. So it's funny, as I watch videos of myself from when I was a child, I would actually interview people or pretend that I was an actress and being interviewed. And now that's part of what I do as a job. And I just think that's hysterical that we kind of know what we want to do when we're little, and hopefully we can find our way back to that. So yeah, as a child, I just really liked being around people who wanted to be around me.
And where did you grow up?
Here in San Diego.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
that's rare.
All around San Diego.
Rare to meet someone who's from here, grew up here, and still lives here, right?
Yeah.
There's so many people that come to the area. I mean, I'm one of them, but
yeah,
that's awesome. So when you grew up here, did you go to college in the area or school in the area after? No.
So I've always been one of those alternative people. Whatever works for the 99.9% doesn't work for me. So I actually did really poorly in school. I didn't go to college, but I started learning about things on my own. So whatever I was interested in, I would just take a certification course in it and kind of learn on my own. So I knew I liked childhood development. So I thought, I'm going to be a teacher. But then when it came to teaching kids, I had to send them home to the same parent situations. And then I was like, oh man, I need to work with the parents. And so it just kind of set me on a journey of figuring out what I wanted to do. And I ended up becoming certified to teach parenting classes, to teach children's classes, teachers classes, get everybody on the same page for really looking positive, looking at the world in a positive way, having positive discipline, how to be firm with your child, but kind at the same time, and really how to get anybody on the same page to want to be part of the team. Because if I want to be part of your team, I'm going to do whatever it takes to make the team successful, as opposed to an outside force trying to control me.
Is that the whole parenting aspect? Is that something you still tackle?
Getting my kids on board.
Well, yeah. Or
Always.
helping others do it. Like you have so much going on.
Not directly, but everything adds indirectly to
Sure.
to the journey, right? So at first I learned the child development, then I learned the nonviolent communication and the parenting, positive parenting aspect. And then I learned a little bit about neuroscience and the mind-body connection. So all the pieces along the way get pulled into what I do and how I relate to people now, but it's not just like one thing that I focus on.
Yeah. And right now, I guess I don't want to skip ahead. I always do this. So we went from little you to now you're learning all these things, and then you go and apply it. And it first started with parenting and teachers and education. And then how did you make that leap to now sort of what you do now? Because I know they all interplay and they connect, but how did you end up connecting the pieces?
Yeah, what's so interesting is, for me, I think that we all get to these points in our lives where we start to feel constricted, right? Like a lobster shell, when it's outgrowing its current shell, it has to break through that shell, and we start to feel constricted, and we just kind of throw our arms down or scream at God or the universe or whatever it is. And we say, enough of this. I want something new. I want something different. I want something more. And that's how I keep progressing in my journey, is I get to this point where I say, okay, Gus. And Gus is God, universe, spirit. I joke that I'm a people pleaser and I don't want to leave anybody out. So I say, okay, Gus, what's next? What's next for me? How do I serve at that next greater level? How do I serve myself at that next greater level? And again, the whole 99.9% of the people say, oh, you've got to set goals and you've got to figure out, reverse engineer and how to get to that goal. For me, it's about throwing up my arms. I literally do a trust fall on my bed, so my body feels the feeling of falling backwards. And I say, okay, Gus, you need to put the right opportunity in my path and I will say yes. And make it obvious that it's either a hell yes or a hell no, because I don't want to waste any time weighing my options and pros and cons. None of that.
I mean, that saves a lot of time, because that's usually where I spend most of my time.
Right? You just got to make these agreements with the universe, and then it just gets laid out before and you go, oh, that was easy.
How long have you talked to Gus, right? Like, how long was that where for you?
I think I just called it universe or spirit before that. I called it God. So I again, this whole journey, right? So first it was God, then it was universe, then it was spirit. And for me, I'm a Virgo. So there's that part of me that's very structured, and this is how you do it. And what happens is, if you're very rigid in your thinking, then everything's black and white. There's no room for a gray area. So for me, when it came time to manifest or create for my life, if I was praying to God or universe or spirit and it had to be something, I found that I shut myself off. There was a part of me that went, ugh. Sometimes if we have a bad experience, like with religion or something like that, it can make us shut down. So what I learned is how to soften my little Virgo edges is to make things funny. And when I was driving in the car one day, and I just was having a conversation with the powers that be, and I was thinking, okay, I need to be able to call you something, right? Because as a human, we need to put labels on everything. I'm like, what do I call you? What do I call you? And I said, I needed something that stood for God and universe and spirit. And I went, oh, Gus. And then as soon as I thought of Gus, I thought of that little chubby mouse in Cinderella, Gus Gus.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And he was so chubby, he couldn't get his shirt to fit. And then I just started laughing. And that's how I knew that I found my connection, because every time I say Gus, it makes me laugh.
Yeah.
And then I don't take myself so seriously. And then I can get into that creation mode and the manifesting mode. So it's been a couple years since I've had Gus.
I love, I mean, I'm going to steal it because it's so good. It's just so good. With your sort of upbringing, because it's pretty cool, and I love that idea of like 99% here, so you go there. I love that, because it, I think, speaks to people. I mean, obviously not a lot, because 99 are over there, but some of them
they think they're over there.
Yeah. With your sort of trajectory that's been, sort of doing certification, not a normal school, right? That people think need to be normal. And then even your spirituality of like God to, universe to spirit. How is your family? Or are they same, like total like free spirit?
Oh my gosh. My family, okay, first of all, we're just a bunch of dorks.
Okay.
And they just know me as being a dork. And it was so funny. I found this meme on the internet 2 days ago. It said something about like the dorkier or weirder your parents are, the more well-rounded you will be. So I
Oh, for
texted
sure.
that meme to my daughter with the words, "You're welcome." And
It
she's
is
like,
true.
"I think I'm
Oh.
a little too well-rounded." So she sent me a little emoji of a suitcase to give it back to me. But yeah, we just we're weird, we're dorky, we're nerdy. Everybody is their own person. And so I really try to honor each person individually. And again, that ties back to the whole parenting thing is
Mhm.
don't love your children the same, love them individually. I have 4
Mm.
kids that were raised in the same house with the same parents, and they're all completely different. Even the twins, who are mostly alike, are still completely different. And so being able to look at them as a human and a spirit and to honor who they are and their individual journey. They're not necessarily spiritual. They don't have like a spiritual practice, but they're all really intuitive, like
Oh,
crazy intuitive, to where
wow.
like when they would say things, especially when they were younger, they would tell me stories about things they knew, and I'm going,
Wow.
one of them communicates with animals, one of them like communicates with angels. Like
Oh my
it's like
God.
it's like the most amazing thing ever. But
And
the flip side of that is they're very sensitive, so they don't necessarily fit in with the outside world as
oh,
normally as some of the other kids. They're all highly sensitive, intuitive beings.
I um I see I haven't seen her in a while. I used to see an energy worker regularly in Seattle for like 8 years probably. And then we moved, and when I moved here, she actually moved to New York. So it was like, we both moved away. And I had seen a couple here and there, since I've been in San Diego over this last almost year. And someone recently, oh, it was a medium. It was the first time I ever saw a medium
Okay.
here in San Diego. And they told me that our children are like, they were just going through, I mean, this is going to be woo woo for a lot of people, but not the people that watch this.
Yes.
Um, but like they were saying like, past lives and all these things.
Mhm.
And they were then telling me like, about my son and, our son, he's adopted, but they were like, no, like your child picked you, like the child picks the parent. Because while you were describing this, I was right away like thought like, oh, cool, like I know what my next question is going to be. But then you were talking about your kids, and I was like, no, that question doesn't make sense anymore because I already know that they picked you. Because it is like, it's very unique, I would say, and rare that one parent would say like, hey, here's all 4 kids. They are so different, but they all have this sort of, I don't want to say gift. It's like this thing that they've tapped into that they're open to.
Yeah.
And you got all 4 because you were the person that could handle it. You know what I mean? I mean, it was really that they chose you because I always think, and even when you were talking about you treat them individually, the
Mhm.
first thing I thought of was like, what parent besides you, because you done like the school and education in a sense, right, would know how to even handle those personality styles? Like I study personality styles, so it's like
Mm.
I love learning about it, but I also know like it's very hard for a lot of people. And so how do you, I mean, I already know because I just know you a little, like I know how you do this, but how do you
Yeah.
help people do that? Because that is so hard, especially even if just your kids. It's so hard.
You have to release this thing called expectations.
Mm.
And that's one of the hardest things because we're taught from a very young age that everybody else's expectations are on us and that we're supposed to have high expectations of ourselves. And so what does that look like? It's so easy to worry about the judgments of other people. And it's not easy to, even with me, and I've had practice because my twins are 21 years old. I'm still,
Crazy. I hear that your twins are
it's a daily
21. Insane.
it's still a daily practice, but I have to release the expectations of what I think they're supposed to be or supposed to do, and help them find their own way. So right from the very beginning, I thought, I don't want to demand that they learn something. I want to help them have a joy for learning. Because just like what you said a moment ago, is that you love learning about XYZ. If we have the joy for learning, then we have our whole lifetime to discover who we are and what that is and how we want to contribute in the world. But as soon as we say, no, you have to do this, then we start shutting ourselves down. I definitely don't have it all figured out.
For sure, for sure, yeah.
We all struggle. I mean, my kids struggle too, in finding their way in the real world. But the really cool part about the real world and choosing to be part of it at this moment in time is that there are so many people that will talk openly about past lives, spiritual things, religious things, all the emotional stuff, all the woo-woo stuff. And it's a brilliant time that science is actually proving that some of this woo-woo stuff is in fact real and not just a figment of our imaginations. That being said, we're all making it up anyways. So even if it's not real, make up something that feels good for you.
Did you feel like with you and all four, first of all, I mean, let me ask this because this is what people are going to wonder. The minute you said your kids are 21, what's your skin regimen? That you have 21-year-old kids? Because that's crazy. I mean, for real. And they don't even get to see. I've seen, we're on Facebook. I've seen pictures. I'm like, that's not, you shouldn't have a 21-year-old. So
thank you.
That's real good. Yeah.
Well, part of it is I'm only 42, so that helps. I'm not 60. But awesome. You know what? I think that the secret to skin and looking young is joy, finding the laughter. Oh, I've got this great story. So one of the events that I'm producing is in September, and I had to drive the back roads to get to this place because it's at a resort and casino. So it's off in the back end of San Diego. And I'm driving, and most of the road is only one way. So everybody's in line behind each other. And there's this little putt-putt car driving on a spare tire. I think it was probably a little old man driving with his hazard lights on, going half the speed limit.
Yep.
And I'm trying to meet somebody there. So I'm like, oh man, I really want to get to where I'm going. And then sure enough, the lane opens up into 2 lanes so we can pass. So all the cars, zoom, zoom, zoom. Everybody passes putt-putt car. Well, then we get to a stoplight. And we all stop at the stoplight. The light turns green. Putt-putt car comes driving right up the lane, gets in front of all of us again, and now we're stuck behind him again. And I just started laughing. And we have to be able to find the silliness in those moments, because I could have gotten really frustrated and he's going to make me late and all the things that were outside my control. But then I started thinking, how funny. I wonder what's active in that guy's vibration that he was able to just keep going. Because maybe if he had to hit the brakes, he wouldn't have been able to start the car again. I don't know what the issue was, but I just thought that was funny and I had to laugh.
When you were a child, did you have that same... Because I call it it's really, to me, knowledge, wisdom. This is wisdom to me, is that joy is what keeps you not only youthful, but obviously it also keeps you happy and content. And
I think that's the purpose of life, is to find the joy.
And you knew that forever?
No.
Okay.
Probably subconsciously I knew that, which is why I was in so much pain. Because growing up, I was very sad, tormented, cry myself to sleep. I would sit on my dresser and look up at the stars and talk to God, universe, stars, and saying, please let me leave, let me go. I don't like it here. I want to stop this. And so I spent a lot of my childhood actually feeling displaced because nobody thought like I did. Nobody felt like I did. I always felt like that outsider. And I don't know when I really started finding the joy. I think it was probably after I had my twins, because, we think, oh, I'm going to be a parent, I'm going to teach my kid all these things. And the opposite's true. They teach us everything that we didn't know.
Yep.
And it was after I had them, one of my energy workers who was actually doing a Reiki massage on me, she said, Shannon, you have to soften your rigidity. you're really rigid. Like the way I load the dishwasher, everybody has to load the dishwasher that way. The way you fold the laundry, everybody has to fold it that way. And I was very rigid. She said, you have to soften that. You have to find a way to let that stuff go. And then at one point it just clicked for me that the way that I do that is through laughter. So I shared with you a little bit ago that I actually have a Pinterest board that's all funny memes and funny videos, so that when I feel myself start to constrict and need to control things, I'll go watch one of those funny things, get back into that open energy, that higher vibration frequency, and then everything just works out for you when you're in that higher vibration. So I just kind of started paying attention to the patterns.
That's smart. And the minute you said, I was like, oh, now I need to go do that, because that is a really good idea. But I also thought, oh, I used to do this thing, and I still do it. No, I don't know. I said used to. I am obsessed with monologues. Like, I don't know why, but like, I love a really good monologue. I just love writing. And when I first left school, I felt the same way, actually. Like, I was constantly talking to whoever, when no one was around, whoever would listen, right? And be like, why am I here? Because this is just not right. Nothing was right. And I used to write all the time, like just constantly write. And when I got older, I don't know exactly when. I mean, I hate to say this, it sounds trivial, but I want to say it was like Grey's Anatomy, truly. Like, I watched Grey's Anatomy, and I thought the way that this narration happened and the way that they described this life occurrence was so beautiful. And like, I just loved everything about it.
Are you talking about when they killed off Dr. Dreamy?
Oh my God. Yeah, that, I mean, when they killed off Denny, don't even get me started. But yeah, like that whole thing, everything was so good, and I just love it. And so I realized, like, I have a YouTube, and I save, right, like favorite things. And I forgot, I used to go there, and I still do this every time I needed to do feel powerful, I guess, maybe in the way, like I needed to like really be like, I got to be an authority for whatever's happening. And I watch like, they're like 2-minute clips of scenes from Grey's Anatomy. And then like since she wrote a book, Shonda Rhimes, it's my favorite book. I will watch excerpts of her reading it, or maybe her like commencement speeches at universities, because she just is like, I don't know how she can make people feel something instantly, but for me, she does. And so it's the same thing. It's like, for me, like, I need to be a powerful person to give this speech or something, right? I always go to Shonda Rhimes and something that she says. But that funny one is actually really good, because I think I don't have one for when I'm in that moment that you're talking about, like, I'm going to go in, right? And I need to go out. Like, funny is actually good. That is a good tip.
Well, especially as a parent, because I know when the kids are at their worst, and it's hard to love them. And let's just be honest, sometimes it's hard because we're humans too. But we want to do the best for them. We want to do the best by them. We want to treat them like a human who's having a hard time. So for me, that was my saving grace, is at night when I was so angry because I couldn't control them and get them to stop or do or whatever, I had to laugh. And then what happens is you can feel that air flow come through you, and like, okay, I can manage this. I can go back. I can apologize for my part in the problem, or be solution focused. But I love what you said too about the whole powerful thing. You know, that's why we have like the power poses. Whether it's a dance or whatever, it's so fun that there are so many resources that will help us get like pre-frame the energy that we want, so that we can show up as our best version of ourselves.
I love that. And I especially love this one, especially as it relates to parents that you do, because when I first had my son, I did, which I do think a lot of parents do, is I have life issues or problems, but I have this child that makes me feel so good. And so there's that weird thing where we're doing what we're talking about with the funny clips or the powerful things. We start doing that to the child. Like, I just need to get home because they're going to put me in the good mood, right? Or I just need to like see them for a little while because they're going to make me feel better. And I don't know who told me, it was like a psychologist or some doctor friend of mine, but they had said something about like, that's scary territory. Like, don't put the child is going to make you feel something, because like it's imbalanced and it's all this. And that's how I love that you have a sort of trick to that, because I think like that's actually something literally, especially being in quarantine, that I've personally been like, I need to find a thing, right? Because I don't want to get in this habit of like, it's a rough day, well, I'll just go play with him because he makes me like forget about things. And the way that she explained it is she said something about when they're older and they need to do this for themselves, because you've done it to them and they're your coping, it ends up being where then they can't come to you and like you can't be the person that they go to, and that's the last thing I'd want, right? Is my kid not being able to come to me. So I love that idea.
The flip side of that too, though, is you could always tell your child, you know what, I was having a rough day and you reminded me how to have a playful spirit or a playful heart, and when I laugh it makes me feel better, so thank you for, you know, reminding me that I can be playful like you. And then that way they'll remember that when they grow up, like, oh, being playful makes you feel better.
I love that.
Yeah, it's all how we spin it, right? And it just, these little micro movements make all the difference.
Ugh, that's good. I have a couple of questions that I was thinking about since last we talked.
Yeah.
And I guess the first one I would say that I was curious, because it sort of goes with all of this. You had twins first, right? So those are the oldest, the 21, and then you have two others. And how old are the other two?
So the boy twins are 21, and then we have another son who's 16, and then our daughter is 14 and a half.
Oh my God. What are you doing?
It's good I had the boys first. It's very different having a daughter.
Yeah, that's actually, I'm happy that you had a girl, because that was going to be one of my questions. Like, how has it been, right? Like you had boys and now you have this daughter. It has to be totally different. Totally different. Yeah.
It's a very, very different, fun and challenging. And again, each child has pushed me outside my comfort zone to help me grow and be the best possible version of myself. And sometimes I say it like this, but yeah, and I find this with other people in my life too. The people who push you the most are also the people who bring the most value. And we just have such a close connection. I love getting to talk with her. Like, she's my spirit animal. If I had to be somebody else in this lifetime besides me, I would be her. And she says that to me all the time. Like, we just have this mutual respect, but it's because I really just listen to her. And one of the things I've always done with my kids is pre-framed with them. If you ever want to tell me something, but you're afraid I'm going to react in a certain way, start with that. Start with, Mom, I want to tell you something, but I'm afraid you're going to get mad, or I'm afraid it's going to hurt your feelings, or whatever it is, just let me know. Because what that does is it puts me in the mindset of, oh, I need to just be present and not let my own humanity get triggered in whatever way. And so because of that, all the kids have been very honest with me about things that typically would be considered, you know, uncomfortable or something you just don't tell your parents. And
do you feel that and I only ask this because I was part of a discussion where this happened before. Do you feel like, so you have a daughter, you guys have a very close relationship. She's in her teens. Also, like, so many things, so rare, by the way, just in that sentence. Do you feel like with your friends or people that you know that have daughters that are, you know, women, are you the rarity? Are you like the person that they go to for, well, how do you make this happen?
As far as like the daughters coming to me, or the moms coming to me?
The connection to the daughter. Like, do you think other moms come to you and are like, what are you doing? How can you do that? I was just in a conversation where it was majority women, and one was like, my daughter and me, best friends. Every other woman in this conversation were like, not me. My daughter hates me. She's hated me for the last like 3 years. I'm just waiting until she grows up so that she loves me again.
Yeah.
It's like, do you find that's like a common thing?
I think with my daughter's friends, there's one other daughter that's mostly closer to her mom than the other kids. But for the most part, what I hear from my daughter is that the relationships aren't like that at all. And so my daughter will say, hey, Mom, my friend's going through this with her mom. And so we'll talk about how my daughter can be supportive of her friend in the relationship with her and her mom. And then my daughter just asked me if we could adopt 6 of her friends to come live with us for the summer.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
So it's
Oof.
one of the things about my daughter, she's got a really high emotional intelligence. So
Mm.
part of it is she sees everything. And even when she was in third grade, she would come home and she'd like, oh, I can see something's bothering you. And she's like, Mom, all the kids at school today were not respectful. And then the teacher felt disrespected, and she doesn't even have the support from her principal and the other teachers. So then she got mad at us, and she was describing to me this whole like cycle that was happening where everybody was disrespecting each other because nobody was feeling supported, heard, understood, validated, and she could see all of it clearly. And so I just
Wow.
said, I just asked her, well, what did you do? Like, what did you do to support yourself? How did you support the students? How did you support the teacher? So she's always had this awareness, and we could talk about things. So she can see clearly what's going on in the relationships, even with her friends and their moms. She'll say, Mom, my friend did this, and I can totally tell that she's just trying to get attention because of blah, blah, blah,
Wow.
blah, blah. And she puts all the pieces together. And so we just get to have these cool conversations of how can she stay centered and strong within herself while being a support system to those that she loves.
Do you have a feeling, or does she know, she's explained to you what she's interested in doing with life?
She thinks she wants to be a teacher or a therapist or a coach or
Mm-hmm.
something along those lines.
I mean, it
Yeah.
sounds like she'd be perfect for it,
She
to be honest.
likes to serve people, and she has like an angel tarot deck, and so she communicates with her angels,
Oh
and
my gosh.
she's always like, oh, Mom, they're always just so right on.
Oh my God. Your household. Your household. I love it. You need
Yeah.
a camera. You need to be a TV show. I can already tell.
It's actually very boring because there's no drama or anything to watch. And in fact, people are like, "Oh, how are you doing with quarantine?" And you're at home with all your kids. I'm like, we haven't noticed anything. We live on an acre, so I have free range children.
Oh
So
my
they're either
gosh.
in their rooms on a computer doing geeky computer things, or they're outside in a tree or building something with a power tool or creating an obstacle course in the pool. So
My
we just,
God.
it would be very boring because they're just little Tom Sawyers,
My
which is
God.
fun, but not for a TV show.
And then what was I gonna say? The three boys,
Mhm.
twins. Ugh, twins. How did you do twins?
They
Just
were
the simple
so
fact.
easy. They were
What?
so
Two?
easy. Yeah. Because
How?
they were the kids that would sleep 12 hours through the night and then take
Wow.
like a 2 to 3 hour nap in the afternoon. And then you would sit them down with their toys and they would just sit there and play and just be. They're like little
Wow.
Buddhas. Then our third son, the second pregnancy, total opposite. That kid would not stay still, was walking at 9 months old, running
Oh my
by
God.
11 months old. I would set him down somewhere, turn around, and he had pushed a chair up against the counter, climbed up on the counter, was just climbing around. Oh my gosh. So they're all very different. So the boys are
Oh my
very out
God.
there with their acrobatic skills. But
Did
again, that taught me something. Like with my middle son, I knew that I couldn't keep him from exploring. He always
mm,
wanted to climb something. And so I had to ask myself, what can I do to make sure that he is making the right choices, even when no one's looking? Even if I'm not there to say, no, get down, that's dangerous. And so I just came up with this idea where I told him, okay, before you do anything, check in with yourself. And we started with going to the bathroom. So I'd say, check in with yourself. Do you need to go to the bathroom? And he'd go, I do. I'm like, oh, great. What will you do? He's like, I'm going to go to the bathroom. Oh, that's a great idea. And then it turned into he was going to climb a tree. And I said, okay, just check in with yourself so you know how far you're comfortable going. And it's one of those things with parenting, we just don't
mm.
really know how it's going to work out because it's such a long-term goal. But he came to me one day, we were at the beach and he's probably like 7. He came running back from the ocean and he's like, Mom, Mom, Mom. And I was like, yeah, yeah, yeah. He said, I went out into the ocean and I checked in with myself and I felt like I was out a little bit too far. So I came back in to where I felt okay. And then I played. Wow, that's so great. I'm so glad you listened to yourself and
Oh my
checked in.
gosh.
So yeah, we're just making it up as we go, but
I know,
I
but
wouldn't
like
have known
it's.
to check in with yourself had I not had him climbing on the counter.
Are you writing this down in a book somewhere that we can all have? Because that's what this sounds like needs to happen.
Oh, I have my little stories. I should write them
Yeah.
down. I did write a book, but it it was actually like, if you want to go off on a tangent and you want to make this a 2-hour program, one of the coolest stories is, my middle son, that same kiddo, suffered a trauma when he was in 3rd grade that caused him to shut down and become agoraphobic. And so I wrote this whole book on the journey of how we helped him reverse the symptoms, I guess, by really dealing with the core, the core story that was triggering the anxiety, because it was in 5th grade when we started dealing with it, but it happened in 3rd grade. But really before that, it happened before he was born. And so I have this book that's this whole journey of how I traced it back to figure out what that originating trauma was that caused the trigger in this lifetime.
My God. Let me take this back on track for us, because
Okay.
I'm the one that took it off. First of all, I think it is amazing. And I think that even that little tidbit that you said at the very beginning of like, you need to talk to your children differently. Like you have to love and parent these children differently, not meaning any less or more. It's just like, yes, they're individuals and they have to be handled. I think that's in itself, that's all we needed today. Like true, like, I mean, that is amazing, amazing advice. A question I would have to that, because I think to me, that's well, this is awesome. Did you find that you as a parent had to pick up different skills or techniques to talk to them? Or do you just say like, I just talk to them how I talk to them?
Oh no, it's all training.
Okay.
All training. Like I said, the nonviolent communication was huge. Positive discipline, redirecting children's behavior. It's all the Maria Montessori kind of methodology of how to be firm and kind, how to get what you want, but have them be part of the solution. You know, like I'm feeling this and I need this right now. And the kid's like, well, I'm feeling this and I need this. And it's like, how can we make everything a yes? Like if your kiddo is like, I want this new toy, and you go, okay, how can we make this a yes? I'm not willing to buy it right now, but I want you to have it. How can I support you in figuring out how to get it? And making it always a yes, and then looking at how to make it happen. But one thing I think that you will love and your listeners will love if they have young children is this book called I Love You, the Purplist. And it was one of the books that I got when the twins were young. And it's about these 2 boys. I think they're twins in the book. And the mom is tucking them in. And the kid on the top bunk's like, Mom, who do you love the best? And the mom says, I love you the reddest, like a fire. It's vibrant and like the slam of a patio door. And she starts pulling in all these analogies about what it means to be red. And I love you the reddest. And he's like, oh. And then she goes to tuck in the boy on the bottom bunk. And he's like, Mom, who do you love the best? And she said, I love you the bluest, the cool sunset. And she pulls in all the analogies of what the blue is. And so each child got something that fulfilled them, that was so unique to them. And so the book is I Love You the Purplist, and beautiful watercolors. But that was kind of the starting point for helping me discover, okay, how can I love my twins, especially twins, because I have to share everything individually. How can I look at how unique they are specifically to love them for who they are?
And do you find that your twins are similar or very different?
Very similar and very different.
Yeah.
You know, and that goes for anybody. So I actually pull that into my work with entrepreneurs and business owners. And when I'm hosting a mastermind, I look at you and I say, what do you need? Here's what I'm hearing. Here's what I'm seeing. This is what I'm thinking. Does this sound right? And really getting to tap into someone's inner being, because when you feel loved, you're going to go above and beyond. Right. And it's just about that feeling heard, validated, understood. How can we get those needs met so that you could be the bluest, the purplest, the reddest, the version of you?
And I just have to say a quick plug for you, because I am in a mastermind that you sort of own and, take care of. That mastermind, I've only been there once too, by the way, like one time for like an hour. And not even, I don't think an hour, because I actually ended up coming late. But that mastermind, I've told at least 10 different people about, because I'm in a lot of masterminds, right? Like, or I thought were masterminds. Not one was as, I don't know the best word, efficient, Like, honestly though,
Virgo
like,
brained.
right? Like, as efficient as that, I was so, I love a lot of my coaching and consulting, even though like I don't like to say this out loud because I'm like, that's all I'm gonna get. That's because that's what I trash. Is a lot of the like systems and processes and like automation and like set, like how to just set up a business. And it's great, and I think it's amazing, and I'm happy that I'm good at it. But that is like a lot of rigid work, right? And like what I want to do obviously is like create and live on that side. But
Yeah.
I always appreciate so much when someone can bring this to the table, because I personally think all of that, even though it's not fun, that is the reason that all of this other stuff works and is so
Yes.
efficiently. Like, so
Yeah.
that meeting, I don't want to give it all away. I'm just like, it was so succinct, like this many minutes for this many. I just thought
We got my
this was
paddles
so,
here.
like, yes, I'm just saying, like, I've never been in something that was like that concise and that beneficial.
Thank
Never,
you.
ever, ever. So like, if you are leading masterminds, anyone who needs a mastermind, you need her to lead it, because it really was like, I was just literally talking like last night at like 1 a.m. to someone about it, because I was like, you will
Wow.
not get like how it, and like, it, I felt so good, like leaving saying like, dude, I got so much info, and it seems like
Yeah.
other people did too. And I didn't even go into the like hot seat, or sort of what they do where you get to
Opportunity
go
chair.
opportunity chair. Like I wasn't even part of that yet. Like it was so good, so
Okay, you
good.
know
It
what you're
really
going to
was.
love is we actually train people to become certified mastermind leaders at the
Oh,
mastermindassociation.com. So you can go and you can actually take the training. We'll even send you all the paddles so that you can host your own masterminds. So what it is, it's following
perfect.
a structure. And just like with parenting, right? We have our
Mhm.
structure, we have our rules, our guidelines. And when those needs are met, then it opens the door to all the other creativity
Mm.
that comes in. So we actually train people how to run those masterminds. So thank you
Oh
for
God,
letting it
it was
sink
amazing. It was awesome. Like I'm telling you, I'm like I don't know a good word to say this, so forgive me. Sort of like slutty when it comes to like groups. I'm like very much like I'm in any group that wants me, And so there's a lot of them. I just cannot get over it. Like I've told people that don't even care that I'm talking to them about it. Like
in. Yeah.
it's just so good. So I couldn't say that, but enough. Thank you for that. That was awesome. Okay, so I rambled and I went on, and of course I'd up so much of our time, but I do want to ask you, because just like we start the show with one question, I love to end. I like a big circle. So we started with you telling us a little bit about, you as a child and that journey.
Yeah.
I would love to know, if that little girl was here today, what you'd want to tell her or talk to her about.
So all of those little girls are here with me. They are my
Okay.
cheerleaders. I've done a lot of personal development work. And so the way that I visualize all my younger selves is like this whole squad that's behind me. And so I'll actually, when I make a decision, I'll be like, all right, girls, you're ready? Here we go. And I
I
bring
love that.
all of them with me. Um,
You just took
and
us to a new level of woo woo that I just like, I'm all about.
well, you know, it's funny. There's that saying that's like, pull your shit together. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this idea that we need to pull ourselves together. We need to pull in these pieces. And that's literally what we do when we
Yeah.
look at trauma work. Is when we have a trauma, there's a part of us that splits off and is living in the energetic space around us. Because if we were thinking about that all the time, we'd go crazy. So in healing work, we get to pull those pieces back and integrate them back into us as a whole. So I can see, and I can see them clearly, all the different ages of the me's that have ever, been part of my journey. But what I tell them all the time, all of them, when I'm telling myself and loving me on behalf of all of them, is we got this. Whatever it is, we've got this, because we're not afraid to ask for help anymore. Right? I'm not afraid to ask for help, ask for what I need. I'm not afraid to not be myself anymore. And there's so many of me that had to hide those little stories, So right now, I just get to celebrate being me in the fullness of me, and knowing that as I continue to stay clean and clear and let the energy of the world, the energy that creates worlds, run through me, then I get to be here for you. I get to be here for me and for everyone else that gets to be, touched by this energy. So I guess if I had to pick one thing to say to her, to all of them, is just thank you.
I love that. I love everything. I love you. This is awesome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Before we sort of say goodbye, tell everyone the best way to get a hold of you, follow you. What should we do?
Okay, you can email me at shannonparsons.com. You can find me on Facebook, Shannon Parsons, or follow me on Instagram, shannonparsons.igtv. Send me messages, send me love notes, send me questions. Yes. Challenge me. If I said something you don't agree with, let me know and let's have a yummy conversation. But yeah, come say hi.
Perfect. Shannon, thank you so much for taking the time and being here. It was awesome.
It's my pleasure. Thank you so much for sharing me with your world.
Of course. I couldn't be happier. You guys, thank you for being here, and we will see you next week. See ya.